This is video 10. I'm planning to leave school at the end of year 10, or what if I don't know if I'll be coming back next year? So if you're leaving at the end of year 10, we would still recommend that you submit your subject selections. This is in case something happens in the next 6 months and you end up back here as your plan B. Now, often you might think that's not going to happen. Well, in the last 2 years, we've had a global pandemic, we've had horrendous bushfires. What if where you're going burns down or you can't cross that border to do it? It's a very real possibility. So having that plan B up your sleeve, make your subject selection. So if you do end up back here next year, you have courses you actually have chosen. You are just not being thrown into whatever is left over because they've got a space in that class. Okay, so there's 3 main reasons why people leave school at the end of year 10. The first is TAFE. So if that's you, to enrol in TAFE, they will require that you provide proof that you have completed year 10. Your ROSA is your proof. So at the end of this year, you'll be able to go into your students online account. Everyone at year 10 has activated their students online account. You'll be able to print off your e-record, and that'll list the courses that you've done and the grade that you've got. And that's what TAFE is looking for evidence. To enrol in TAFE, you need to start enrolling in the TAFE website, but then you will need to print off that e-record and take it down to TAFE. Enrolments for next year will not open until December. Okay, so how do you research TAFE courses? Well, you go to the TAFE New South Wales or the TAFE Goulburn websites to get information about the courses that they're offering. There's a TAFE section in the Careers Google Classroom where I've got the course handbook and names of popular TAFE courses that might be for you. And you can also use the section in Job Jump. We have the access through the Careers Google Classroom to look at TAFE courses running there. Okay, and the second reason most people leave at the end of year 10 is because they're going to join the Army, Navy or Air Force. So general entry into the Australian Defence Force requires that you also provide proof that you have completed year 10, and again that is your ROSA. Go into your e-record in Students Online at the end of this year, print it off, there is your proof. Now, general entry require that you achieve a C grade in both English and mathematics in year 10. If you don't achieve that in the ROSA this year, you might say, well, look, I'm going to stay to year 11 and I'm going to get my grades up in English and maths, and then I will leave and go into the Army, Navy or Air Force. If you are still leaving school, TAFE actually runs courses specific for people who need to get that maths and English grade, and they are online, but they are also free. If you are seeking to do a trade or a technical role in the Australian Defence Force, you may also be required to achieve grades in other subjects. Most of the time that will be with science. So how do you find that out? If you go to the Defence Jobs website, it has all the information about the entry requirements for the different roles. It also has lots of videos at the moment because of COVID, they're not running the information sessions where they go around to different towns and give information about how to join the Defence Force and people can ask questions. COVID has put a stop to that at the moment. So what they've done, they've made some really good videos where you can go and get that same information about different aspects of the Army, Navy and Air Force, and they're on the Defence Jobs website as well. Okay, the third reason people usually leave school at the end of year 11 is because they've gained an apprenticeship, a traineeship, or they've got a full-time job. So if you've done your work and you're really lucky and you've secured an apprenticeship or a traineeship or a full-time job, you'll be eligible to apply for an exemption from school. You need to do this because you're not yet 17, and the Education Act says you must be at school until you're 17 in New South Wales. Now, this requires paperwork that the student and the parent and carer need to complete to get that exemption, and you'll need to provide some evidence that the student has actually secured that apprenticeship, traineeship or that job. Now, that's just to protect the student, to make sure that you haven't been signed up by a dodgy employer and they're going to use you up between now and the Christmas holidays and then let you go, and then you've lost that and you have to end up, can you get back to school, can you get back to TAFE? That's just to check that you are going to somewhere that is secured. Students and parents and carers, to begin that process of an exemption, you need to contact the Deputy Principal for your year group. Okay, how do you find apprenticeships and traineeship jobs if you do want to leave school but you haven't secured that position yet? You'll need to do some research, chat to some people in those industries. There's also resources in the Careers Google Classroom, in particular here, the section on the notices, section on jobs, and the section on career planning. And I also communicate local positions, apprenticeships and traineeships in the morning announcements every day at school and through the careers board in the learning centre at school. Okay, what if you're not sure if you're coming back next year or not? Same thing, we would recommend that you still submit your subject selections because this keeps your options open if you do decide to continue with school. It means that you have got subjects that you have actually chosen. You're not being thrown into whatever is left over. Okay, then the information just given earlier in this video about TAFE, the Australian Defence Force, apprenticeships and jobs, that's a good starting place if you are thinking about, will I leave or will I not? I would suggest also that you make the most of your careers lessons in Year 10 to help you guide your explanation, to help you plan ready to do that. And there are plenty of resources in the Google Classroom, the Careers Google Classroom, in particular the sections on career planning is where you should be going now to help you make that plan and to make that decision.